Olá, está pronto para falar português comigo? Are you ready to speak some Portuguese with me? Good, because today we are going to do a 10-minute speaking practice that covers 3 real-life conversations. We're going to use a technique called shadowing. So if you watch lots of Portuguese videos and you understand things that you hear, but your mind goes blank when you have to say something or answer someone, then this is for you. Shadowing is very simple. It basically means that I say a phrase and you repeat it straight after me, trying to copy the way that I pronounce it and the rhythm that I use. That way, you are going to get used to speaking Portuguese without having to translate every sentence first or understand every single word. So today we are going to practice ordering at a cafe, having a quick chat with somebody, and going to the doctor. For each conversation, I will teach you the phrases first, then you'll listen to the full conversation at a natural speed and shadow it with me. Now, there's only one rule: you have to speak out loud. Don't just listen or repeat the answers in your head. Pause the video and speak out loud. You're going to make so much more progress that way. So let's take the most common scenario. You are walking into a cafe and you want to order a coffee and the famous pastel de nata. There are only 4 things that you really need to say. First, you're going to greet them and make your order. Olá, bom dia. Now, you've probably noticed that the most important thing there is the nasal O. We're not going to say bom, we're going to say bom. I do have a whole video on how to make the nasal sound that you can check out next if you're not sure how that works, but this is the way to get started. Then you'll make your order. Café, se faz favor. Café, se faz favor. You heard another nasal sound, didn't you? This time it is on the U of You can see that I'm really pushing the air through my nose and not letting my mouth close, because that would give me a sound. You can make the E at the end of café, nice and open. And you can really close down the vowels in se faz favor. We're not opening our mouth too much. Se faz favor. No, in Portuguese we keep the vowels closed. Se faz favor. Lots of people always ask me, is it por favor or se faz favor? The truth is they both apply and are both used all the time, but I think se faz favor sounds more Portuguese. Now, the next thing you might be asked is para aqui ou para levar? Para aqui ou para levar? Is it for here or to take away? So, it depends what you want to do, but let's say that your answer is to have here. You would say para aqui, se faz favor. Para aqui, se faz favor. Then you can add e também pastel de nata. E também pastel de nata. Once again, we have 2 nasal sounds in this sentence, so look out for those. And make sure the S in pastel is a nice sh sound. E também pastel de nata. A very common phrase you will hear in any ordering situation is e mais alguma coisa? E mais alguma coisa? This means, do you need anything else? And here is what your answer can be if this is all you want. Só isso, obrigado. Só isso, obrigado. Now, you do need to change obrigado to obrigada if you are female, but don't worry too much about that right now. So let's practice the whole interaction from the beginning. Repeat each line straight after me and try to copy the way that I say it. Olá, bom dia. Café, se faz favor. Para aqui, se faz favor. Só isso, obrigada. And that's it. With just those 4 lines, you can go to a cafe and order what you want without switching to English. Now, before we move on, if Portuguese pronunciation is something that you struggle with and you are finding it hard to keep up there, I have made a free 7-step guide that will really help. It covers the essential European Portuguese sounds that English speakers usually find the hardest, including that nasal sound, with examples and native speaker audio. The link is in the description, so go and download your free copy now. So now let's move on to something that can feel a little less predictable, and that is having a quick chat. So imagine you are speaking to a waiter or a bartender and you want to keep the conversation going instead of immediately switching back to English. So you can start with a simple greeting. Olá, boa tarde, tudo bem? Olá, boa tarde, tudo bem? Now, the pronunciation piece that I really want you to look out for here is the R in the middle of tarde. We call this a tapped R, and what we need to do is make sure that the tongue is tapping the roof of our mouth when we make that sound. R, r. This is really difficult, especially for English speakers. They tend to say tard and just completely skip over the R and make a sound. But that's not what we want in Portuguese. We want to hear the r tapping on the roof of our mouth. If you know how to roll your R's, then it's the same movement, but instead of multiple taps, it's just one. Tarde, tarde. I want you to practice it, because if you can get that right, you're going to sound so much more Portuguese. Now, tudo bem is the most common way of saying how are you in Portuguese. So what should your response be? It's very simple. It's the same as the question. If your answer is I'm fine, estou bem, obrigada, and you can offer the same question back. It's nice and simple. You say e consigo, e consigo. I want you to look out for the O at the end of consigo, because it's not an O, it's an U, and you can apply that to any word that ends in O in Portuguese. Now, maybe you want to tell them a little something about yourself, and maybe it's your first time in Portugal. That would be a really nice fact to share with them. So you could say, é a minha primeira vez em Portugal. É a minha primeira vez em Portugal. It's my first time in Portugal. Maybe they will ask if you are liking it, and you can say, estou a gostar muito. Estou a gostar muito. Now, that little A in that sentence can get almost lost, because again, this is a closed A sound. So you need to make sure that you're saying it, but we don't want to say a, an open A. You want to say a. Estou a gostar muito. If you want to keep the conversation going, you could ask for a local recommendation. O que recomenda visitar por aqui? O que recomenda visitar por aqui? Now again, I want to draw your attention to the R's in this sentence. When a word begins with an R, we're not going to use the tapped R that I was talking about earlier. We are either going to do a ch or a r. But when the R is at the end of the word, like in visitar, por, that's when we'll go back to doing our tapped R. So, por aqui means around here. And when the conversation ends, you can say something like, muito obrigada, tenha bom dia. Muito obrigada, tenha bom dia. Now, that one has a lot of nasal sounds there. We've got the E in tenha, we've got and we've got bom. So really important to practice those nasal sounds. But this means have a nice day. Now let's practice your whole part from the beginning. Repeat each line straight after me and try to copy the way I say it. Olá, boa tarde, tudo bem? Tudo bem, obrigada. E consigo? É a minha primeira vez em Portugal. Estou a gostar muito. O que recomenda visitar por aqui? Muito obrigada. Tenha bom dia. Let's do it once more at a more natural speed. Olá, boa tarde. Tudo bem? Tudo bem, obrigada. E consigo? É a minha primeira vez em Portugal. Estou a gostar muito. O que recomenda visitar por aqui? Muito obrigada. Tenha bom dia. So with those phrases, you can introduce yourself, keep the conversation going, even ask for a local recommendation without needing a huge vocabulary. So now let's practice a situation where you need to be able to explain yourself clearly, and that is going to a doctor's appointment. So imagine you haven't been feeling well and you need to explain what's wrong to a doctor in Portuguese. I do have a whole video about this over here, but let's focus on the 5 main things you need to say. So first of all, the doctor is going to ask what the problem is, and you can start with Não me tenho sentido bem. Não me tenho sentido bem. I haven't been feeling well. Next, we need to explain your symptoms. So for example, you could say Tenho dor de garganta e febre. Tenho dor de garganta e febre. Now, of course, you can change this depending on how you are feeling. So, for example, tenho tosse. Tenho tosse. I have a cough. Or, tenho dores de cabeça. Tenho dores de cabeça. Now, you've probably noticed that in Portuguese, the most common word that you're going to need here is tenho. This means I have, and that's how the Portuguese are going to express symptoms. I have a headache, I have a sore throat, I have a cough. So next, the doctor will probably ask how long you have felt this way, and you can say, for example, há 2 dias. Há 2 dias. Now that a means the amount of time. So of course you can simply change the number depending on how long it's been. Há 3 dias. Há uma semana, for example. Now they might ask if you have taken anything and you want to refer to paracetamol, ibuprofen, those typical over-the-counter drugs. So you would probably use the brand names that they have here in Portugal. So for paracetamol, that is Benuron, Benuron. And for ibuprofen, it's Brufen, Brufen. Now this is very important. If the doctor says something too quickly for you or you don't understand, you can say, podia repetir mais devagar, por favor? Podia repetir mais devagar, por favor? It is much better to ask them to repeat something than to pretend that you actually understood important information, especially when it comes to your prescription or your receita, okay? So now you can repeat each line straight after me. Não me tenho sentido bem. Tenho dor de garganta e febre. Também tenho dores de cabeça. Há 2 dias. Podia repetir mais devagar, se faz favor? Let's do it one more time at a more natural speed. Não me tenho sentido bem. Tenho dor de garganta e febre. Também tenho dores de cabeça. Há 2 dias. Podia repetir mais devagar, se faz favor? And that's your 3rd situation done. So now you can explain why you haven't been feeling well, describe your symptoms, and how long you have had them for. You can even ask the doctor to slow down if you need more time. So let's just stop for a second and give ourselves a pat on the back. We just went through 3 real-life conversations in Portuguese. You learn what to say, how the sentences are put together, and what to do with your mouth so that the words sound more natural. And honestly, if you watch this video more than 1 time and speak along again, I bet the words will start coming out faster and with much less effort. And that is a skill you need to be building. Not just understanding Portuguese when you hear it, but being able to actually speak when somebody is standing in front of you and waiting for an answer. And the only way to get there is through more practice, the right kind of repetition, and somebody showing you what to work on next. So if you enjoyed this and you need more help getting to grips with beginner Portuguese, definitely come along to my free 60-minute workshop, Speak Portuguese Like a Pro. I will share practical tips to help you master Portuguese pronunciation, break down real-life Portuguese that the locals actually use, and teach you the essential grammar you need to start forming your own sentences. So instead of memorizing a few phrases and hoping that they fit to the situation that you're going to be in, you'll understand how Portuguese actually works and know what to practice next. The workshop is completely free and the link is in the description. Go save your spot and I will see you on the inside.